What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Universal Teas. It's the People's Podcast with your girl, Toya. And this episode is called Bout That Action. I don't know if y'all ever saw that little video of Beyonce when she was telling everybody to be about that action. But I thought that it was very important because I found that more recently I've been in a space where I'm being pushed to grow and like pushed to do a lot of the things that I've said I wanted to do, not just in Universal T's world, but in my personal life as well. It's kind of like we talk about the things that we want, but when we're presented with them, are we prepared to put in the work and be about the action to get or sustain those things? And I think that typically when we talk about being about action, we think like hustle culture, like I got to be sweating, I got to be in a room, I got to be out of breath by the end of it. But sometimes it's just consistency. Sometimes it's just being consistent with one thing that you're trying to work on within your life or within yourself and like hyper-focusing on that. And hyper-focusing doesn't even mean that you are going hard per se, but you are putting forth the action for the things that you say you want, that you want to be, that you want to do, in the areas in your life in which you want to grow. So when we talk about being about that action, if you from the hood like me, when somebody tell you they about that action, one of the words or one of the terms that you're going to hear is that something is going to happen on site. Now, I didn't have people tell me that it was on site before, and I know a lot of other people in my life who have said on site. So for my friends who not as urbanly educated, if somebody tell you it's on site, that means that they about to throw them hands wherever they see you. You could be at Walmart, you could be in the pew at the church house, you could be dropping your child off to the daycare center. But if somebody tells you on site, that's what that means. And so I figured out, or I feel like, we should also be having this on-site mindset when we're talking about our goals, when we're talking about the ways in which you want to grow. So if you are putting into the universe a way in which you want to be different, if you are putting into the universe something that you want to do for yourself, when you get the opportunity, you got to be on site, whether you're being on site about your work ethic, whether you're being on site about the gym, whether you're being on site about building a business or becoming a better person. You have to understand that when that is presented, I don't care, because I know y'all have heard the term, there's no such thing as luck. That's when opportunity meets preparation. You are preparing yourself so that when you get presented with the opportunity, it's on site. You are preparing yourself, you are learning yourself, so when you get the opportunity to show something that you've been working on within yourself, within your life, within your relationships, it's on site. You have to take the action when the opportunity is presented. I kind of like that. So if you are doing work on yourself, if you are doing work on your business, if you are doing work in your relationships, when you get the opportunity to show the action or the thing that you've been working on, it has to be on site. The next thing that I definitely want us to think about, when we're talking about being on site, is urgency. Not everything is urgent, but when the opportunity presents itself, it is urgent, right? You have to do it right then and there. It can't be a second thought, because if you prepared yourself mentally to get and acquire the things that you want and that you've worked for, you have to jump on those opportunities when they come in. And you also have to understand that it's in you. So sometimes we have things that we want to do, that we say we hope for and we dream for, and those things are in you. That's why you're bothered. That's why you're up at night stressing about them. That's why sometimes anxiety exists, because the things that you want better for yourself, the ways in which you know you need to do something different, the ways in which you know you need to change are within you. That's why it's bothering you, because you have to push it out. I have an episode that I recorded a while ago called You Have to Push. And it's this idea of when you know you have a gift, when you know you have a talent, when you know you have something about yourself that you want to see develop, it's in you, and you have to be able to push it out into the world. You have to be able to push those actions out so that you can grow and develop, because if you don't, things are just uncomfortable. That's another thing when we even talk about conversation. Some things you need to just be able to say, because if you hold on to things, it gets uncomfortable. You have to be able to push out those dreams, those ideas, the way that you feel, you know what I mean, into the world. And so you're going to be bothered until you push it out. And you can't be afraid of what it's going to look like on the other side. You can't be afraid of what it's going to look like once it is pushed out. You have to know that it has to become about what you truly want and value within yourself. And you have to be able to push those things out. Yes. sometimes we get into positions where we realize that we have to change and grow. Self-evaluation is so important. And I feel like we sometimes say that we want to change. We say that we sometimes want to be different, but our actions don't always align. And so this episode being called Bout That Action is also realizing that there are parts of you that you have to proceed in action for to change and develop. And so when we talk about being about that action when it's time to change and grow, that's really understanding that everything about you isn't perfect. We all have flaws in who we are. We all have flaws in our characters. And if you really feel like they don't work for you, and that's what's important, sometimes people are just, that's how I am as people, and you don't feel like you need to change in certain areas. But if you do have this feeling or this urge or this knowing that you need to change and grow, you have to be about that action as well. That means taking a hard look at yourself, taking a look at how you affect things and people around you, taking a look at how you handle conflict, how you handle conversation, how you handle situations, and you have to really, really be about the action of changing and not just talking, but changing. That's where sometimes the disconnect is that we are not really comfortable taking that step into action. And that can be into a new business venture. That can be into moving to a new city, making a decision that's going to change your life because it's unfamiliar. So you don't really have a blueprint. But being about that action really means that you trust what it is that's on the other side. And I've said that to you all before. So trusting what's on the other side of your fear, trusting what's on the other side of your discomfort, trusting what's on the other side of that's just how I am, that's just how it happens for me. That's where that change comes from. That's where that growth comes from. That's when that self-sustained success, that feeling of fulfillment comes from, is when you do the thing that makes you uncomfortable. And I also feel like some things are not uncomfortable because we don't think we can do it. They're just uncomfortable because the process is unfamiliar. You're very clear on what you're capable of. You're very clear on what it is that you want to do, what you want to be, how you want to be perceived, how you want to be seen, and how you want to show up in spaces. The discomfort is not in the vision, the discomfort is in the action. You know what I mean? It's just like the first time you're riding a bike. You know you want to learn how to ride a bike or you wouldn't get up there. So it's that same thing when you're changing things about who you are, when you're changing things in your life, when you're just making clear decisions for you. It's all about the action being unfamiliar but having a very clear vision. And sometimes we move without vision. Sometimes we are moving without intention. And so that's when lines get crossed and ideas and things get skewed, because you have to really understand where it is that you want to go. I think I seen this talk with Oprah, and they asked her, what do you notice about people who are successful, or all people that are successful? And her response was simply that they knew where they wanted to go. They knew where they wanted to go in their careers. They knew where they wanted to go in their relationships. They knew where they wanted to go in their lives in general. And so I feel like that is where we can get the motivation to perform these uncomfortable actions. Is if you're so clear and set on where it is you want to go, then it's very much easier for you to be about the action that it takes to get there, because you know that right now the discomfort of this situation, this conversation isn't directly related. Well, no, it would be related, but it isn't the same image that's going to be in the vision, right? We have vision. We don't fantasize the steps that it takes to get there, right? So if I have this vision of what I want my life, what I want my podcast, what I want future relationships to look like, I see that and I'm very clear on that, but I never romanticize the middle part. I never romanticize the work that I would have to do, the things that I would have to learn, the conversations that I would have to have, the things that I would have to love, learn, and accept about myself. I never really thought about those things. All I see is the end product. And so when you're in the middle, it's important to open your eyes and your ears, because the more that you learn, the more that you see, you're going to be able to evaluate yourself, and you realize that everything and everyone around you starts to become a reflection of the work that you do within yourself. And that also goes for the people that stop being around, right? The people that you may lose along the way, or not even lose, but the people that just may fall off from you, or y'all may disconnect in a way. You have to really evaluate who you are in the world and know that these things are related, okay? One last point. you have to want to work for the things you want just as hard as you want them. So I can want something all day, but there is a huge difference between someone who wants something and someone who accomplishes something. So I can want with complete desperation for something to come into fruition, for something to grow. But if I'm not willing to do the work that may be uncomfortable to me, the work that may be unfamiliar to me. And I struggle with this sometimes in that when things don't make sense to me or it's something that I'm not used to, I can kind of be a little standoffish and that like, I don't know what that is. I don't care. Like, that don't make sense to me. I don't want to do it that way. But you have to understand that hard work isn't always going to make sense to you. Hard work isn't always going to come easy to you because you may be working hard in an area in which you've never even thought about working in. You know what I mean? When I think about myself and wanting now to be Universal Tees to be a business, right? And I'm trying to flex this muscle of not knowing, you know what I mean, business. I can't shut myself off to the not knowing, you know what I mean? So it's about opening yourself up to the things that you want. You have to be willing to work hard. You have to be willing to learn. You have to be willing to spend a little bit of extra time in the pain, in the struggle, in the things that you don't fully comprehend or make sense of in order to get to where it is that you want to go. Okay? So this talk, if you don't take away anything, I want you to take away that you have to be, can you hit close on there? I want you to take away that, can y'all hear me? Hello? Oh, there we go. If you take away anything from this conversation, I want it to be that you have to do the work. You don't have to be tired and exhausted every time you finish working, but you have to be consistent. Consistency is a form of hard work, if you ask me, because sometimes we want things, but we're not willing to be consistent at them. That is where discipline comes into play. So those are two things that you really need to learn to love and appreciate. The process will not always be easy. It will not always feel good. It's not always going to be comfortable. You're going to have to stretch yourself. You're going to have to think outside of who you are, but also being in recognition and evaluating yourself. But when we, that's the bathroom or the water upstairs or something. But I just want to push y'all to that. Open your eyes to who you are. Open your mind to learn what you need to do. Open your mind to learn what you need to work on and push yourself to do all of those things. Okay? Thank y'all for joining me. See y'all next time right here on Universal Tees. I love y'all. Bye.